And we begin in Southeast Africa, where Malawian President Bingu Mutharika has died after suffering a heart attack on Thursday, according to medical sources. But the government has not officially announced the death of the 78-year-old president. Meanwhile, diplomatic sources say Mutharika collapsed in Lilongwe and was rushed to the hospital, where sources say he was pronounced dead on arrival. Mr. Mutharika was elected president of Malawi in 2004 and won a second term in 2009. He was credited with improving the nation's food security and making his country a political and economic model for other African countries. But in recent years, Malawi's economy has stumbled and unemployment has been high. Critics say he had become increasingly autocratic. According to the Malawian constitution, Vice President Joyce Banda is slated to take over as head of state. A short time ago, U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs Johnny Carson released a statement extending his condolences to the family of President Mutharika and the nation. Now, for more discussion on the death of Malawi President Bingu Mutharika, we are joined by Mwiza Munthali, Director of Public Outreach and Education at TransAfrica Forum here in Washington. He's also a native of Malawi. Mwiza Munthali, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I should start off by offering my condolences as a Malawian. Of course, I'm sure you've got some thoughts about how everything's unfolding in your country.
Yeah, and I extend my sympathies also to the First Lady and the family of Bingu Mutharika and the rest of his companions.
And you know, condolences have been pouring in from across the continent. For one, Botswana, Kenya have already sent in their condolences, even here from the U.S. We just said Mr. Carson. But the government has not yet officially announced or confirmed this death. Do you know what is the delay? Why are they deliberating on this?
Yeah, that's the worrisome part about it, is that the people are in suspense about the condition of their president, whether it's passed and officially whether it's passed or not, which people now know that it most likely has passed. But one of the problems has been that the president and the vice president had been at odds, and actually the vice president was kicked out of the party in 2010, and but she was not removed from she cannot be removed from her position because she was elected with the ticket of the president. And under the Constitution, she cannot be, she has to be, to remove her, there has to be an impeachment process. So she's still vice president.
And she's still vice president, but there seems to be some indication that there might be a problem in that respect, because she formed another party, the People's Party, after Mr. Mutharika kicked her out of the Democratic Progressive Party. So is she eligible to be the vice president?
Yes, that's got nothing to do with the succession of power.
Even though she's not in the ruling party anymore?
The Constitution clearly states the first vice president takes over from the president if he's incapacitated or it's a death, and there's no speculation of where party she's from. She could actually be independent and be vice president, or even from another party and be vice president. That has nothing to do with the ascension of power.
And of course, we don't expect anything until 2014. She's going to, in the meantime, choose an interim government to support her, but until 2014. I want to go back to talk a little bit about President Mutharika himself. He came in very strong in 2004, really elevated Malawi's image and really boosted the economy. And also in 2009, when he was re-elected with over 66%, almost 70% of the population. But somehow something happened towards the end. What insight can you give us into why, at this point, citizens were calling for his resignation? He's at odds with so many people. He's being accused of being an autocrat. What happened?
Nobody can clearly place the situation, how it happened, how it changed this radically in the last since he was elected in 2009.
Right.
And about 3 years now, there's been a bit of a a downslide from the way he acted before.
Yes.
And some people think it's because he had a majority in parliament, so he was able to bully himself around. That's part of the problem. Because if you remember when he was in power the first time, he was part of the UDF. He went under the United Democratic Front, and then he left that party after disagreeing with them on on good issues. It was about corruption and trying to.
You know, unfortunately, we're about to end, but I want to ask you this question before we go. What will his legacy be at this point?
Right now, so early in the stage, not sure. It'll be very mixed, and sadly, because of the way he led at the end, the early reports are going to be very harsh towards the way he ruled it towards the end, but it'll be a very mixed record, and hopefully they'll follow the Constitution, and we pray that everybody follows the Constitution, and all the parties act maturely, and that we take us into the next phase of this democratic process. This is all part of democracy. Actually, there is no...
But of course, you know, it's a trying time, so we'll watch as the events unfold. Thank you so much. That's Mwiza Munthali, Director of Public Outreach and Education at TransAfrica Forum, who joined us today on In Focus. Thank you so much.